Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Lordi, and it is such a pleasure to be invited to share some thoughts with uh, the audience here. And if you are logging in now, please feel free to leave a comment and let me know where you are listening from. And just any questions you might have or comments. I would love to interact with everybody who is there. Um, Again, my name is Michelle Lordi. I am a vocalist and songwriter, and I was very, very pleased to be invited to join the stream here by Gail Boyd for alternative venues for jazz. I'm in the Philadelphia area. I'm actually right here in a town called Glenside, Pennsylvania, and the Bump Jazz Productions headquarters. Bump Jazz is a studio. We do a lot of things here. This studio was founded by Matthew Parrish, who is a fabulous bassist and has other skills, including videography, that he mostly used in his home studio to use for educational purposes to help with his students, his bass students. Then the pandemic happened, and a lot of things happened. And Matt took his production skills, and I teamed up with Matt to start to live stream jazz during the pandemic. So here we are in the lovely studios here in Glenside. The building is called the Junction at Switchville. And through some very generosities, we connected with the owner here, who was able to connect us with the space, which is, 4,500 square feet. It gave us a lot of room during the pandemic to spread out and be able to record people not on top of each other. There's also a different part of the building where we can open the windows, as well as the ability to do filming outside, which we'll get to in a little bit. But again, I'm here at Bump Jazz Studios, and we do live streaming, videography, recording for mostly jazz artists. We're open to working with other people, but because it's our passion and because it's our community, that has been our main thrust through the pandemic, and of course, making music ourselves here. So yes, thank you, Gail. It is amazing to have all this space, and we're very grateful to use it during the pandemic. So here, Bump Jazz Studios, you can look up some of the things we've done. We've been a little too busy to update with the latest things we've done, but you can go to bumpjazzproductions.com. You can also find us on Facebook. That might actually have some more recent productions, but some of the highlights of the performances that we have hosted over the past, what is it now, 18,000 years? Oh, I'm sorry, 18 months. Of some of the performances, we have featured Orrin Evans and the Captain Black Big Band. We have featured Orrin with his band Tar Baby. We have featured, Larry Fuller's trio. We're featuring Warren Wolf. Questlove was here, and we filmed a wonderful feature for the Moors Jazz Festival. What else? Matt's going to help me here. Jeremy Pelt. Sean Jones. Ken Poplowski. Houston Person. Oh, that was really fun. And that was actually the first time that we had a live audience here at Bump Jazz. So that was amazing. and just a little tiny wee live audience, but it really does feel so good to be able to play in front of people. Who else have we? Oh, the Bad Plus. Um, I think it was their last concert with Orrin Evans. We filmed a concert for them here. That is when Matt almost killed himself on a on a skateboard. So we really make the best of what we have here. Um, the studio, we kind of started from, I wouldn't say from scratch, but we didn't have a dolly. We're jazz musicians. We didn't have every single bit of production material, of course. So instead of a dolly, Matt got his longboard out. So during the filming of the Bad Plus video, I'm switching the videos, and I look up, and there goes Matt. Zoom, right by. It goes right by. He may or may not have hit that painting. I'm not sure. It's still there. It's a little thing in the corner. Anyway, so I say, yeah, it's great to see you too, Facebook user, but there's no name to it. Anyway, so we make videos here. We make music. We do recordings, kind of live room recordings. There's no isolation here. But we've really been part of some really wonderful projects recently. There is a local musician named Paul Geis who brought an amazing gospel project to us last week. Matthew is filming Monette Sutler tomorrow, who is another fantastic Philadelphia-based musician. But we've been, I'd say, half or more of the musicians who've come through here are in the Atlantic flyway. New York, Baltimore, and Philadelphia, of course. And kind of leading to some of the questions that Gail asked me to address. How did you get into jazz? I'm lucky. I'm so lucky. And I'm especially lucky to live here. I grew up in Philadelphia. I went to college in New York and settled back in Philly. And the musicians here are astounding. It's a wonderful, wonderful town filled with amazing musicians. And we're close to New York. I like to say that New York is my favorite suburb of Philadelphia. And that makes people really mad. But I really do like to, as a working musician who doesn't live in New York at this point, I like to never let the distance get in the way and try to get up there at least weekly to hear friends play, to hear new music, to perform. And we are not that far. So that's been good. And it's been great for Bump, where we can pull people down or be a resource to New York artists. And we're less than 2 hours away. So you can definitely do it in a day. So I'm from Philadelphia. And how did I get into jazz? I was fortunate enough to early in my career, which started late, by the way. I'm a bit of a late bloomer. I had a whole career before I started doing music full time. So my first foray into performing, I just connected with some amazing musicians who were jazz artists. So I kind of came to the music that I love by being around people and who are wonderfully talented, and I wanted to stay with them. So I continued, and I learned from them. But I would say that my early influences are across the board, all sorts of different music. I never imagined that I would be singing just focusing on jazz. I love all sorts of alternative music and country music. I grew up listening to Patsy Cline, wore out the tapes. My mom and my grandmother's from Portsmouth, Virginia, so there wasn't a lot of great radio there. So I listened to a lot of the traditional country, which I think you can still hear in my music today. But I grew up with a lot of respect for the generation above my parents and their music. So I would sit with my grandmother and listen to ballads, listen to songs. People like Joe. Help me, Joe. Joe Stafford. Yeah, thank you. Good thing you're here. I would listen to Joe Stafford and uh, June Christie and just kind of marvel in their delivery of those beautiful songs. But like I said, I'm a bit of a late bloomer. It took me uh, until one career into my life to realize that I wanted to do music full time, or I should say, have the guts to do music full time. So I took that love of the balladry that I grew up listening to and was lucky enough to connect with musicians in Philadelphia like Orrin Evans and Matthew Parrish and some wonderful musicians that may not be as well known outside of Philadelphia, but Larry McKenna, wonderful tenor player, and the late and great Sonny Troy, a guitarist who taught me so much. And I had the opportunity to work with him. And one of the ways that I found to connect with the community and to connect with these artists was to create a session. So what happened was about 6 years ago, I had a very small baby at home. I have 3 kids. I have an 18-year-old who's in college and hopefully is studying, unless he's watching. Hi, John. I have an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old. 4-year-old, excuse me. So there was a lot of, I really wanted to make music, but I didn't want to be too far from the babies. So one way to make music and keep the babies happy was to be close to home. So I found a local bar that was amenable to having a jazz night and turned a regular weekly gig into a jazz session. So in the last 6 years, we've been in 2 locations. I said 2. Math was never my thing. We've been in 2 locations here in the northwest suburbs of Philadelphia. And I'm so glad that the opportunity to make music on a weekly basis arose, or we forced it. But I'm glad either way. I'm glad it happened because the friendships, the connections, the love that we were able to share was really, really, really special. If anybody from the vintage, we call it vintage family, is out there, I hope they know how important it was to have a group of people who were so committed and showed up week after week to hear us play. And on the musical side, it was just a wonderful opportunity to play with elders, and to put them together on a weekly basis and go to school, because this was my jazz school. To play with Larry McKenna, to play with Sonny Troy, to play with Matt Parrish and Orrin on a regular basis, to a welcoming crowd. Sometimes a session is never, it can be imperfect. That's a nice way to say it. But we always made it work. There were characters, and there still are. Um, but I think, overall, I pretty much, I don't think I ever left and said, "Ugh, I never want to do this again." So I'm really glad. At the time being, I'm taking a really, really quick, short break from the session. Um, I think the next session that I have is going to be next week. Right now, I'm kind of exploring the idea of taking this, what we call a cabinet of wonder, on the road. So next week, Wednesday, October 13th, I'm going to take the session and my band to a location called Fabrica, which is a club in the Fishtown area of Philadelphia that is doing a weekly jazz series. So we want them to succeed. And I am interested in now kind of exploring the idea of taking this show of ours on the road. So I'll be there next Wednesday, October 13th, with a really, really great band that features Matt Davis on guitar, Jake Morelli on guitar, Matt Parrish on bass and as musical director, and Doug Herlinger on drums. And this band, we've done a couple really fun performances lately. We were down in Cape May recently as part of their Sunset series, in a group affiliated with the Cape May Jazz Festival, or Exit Zero. And before that, we played at Abington Arts Center. So this is a really fun project for me. These are musicians with a lot of fire, and it's been wonderful to be able to develop these ideas. There's new music, some new originals, and also we do a lot of the music from my last album. My last album is called Break Up With the Sound, and let me see if I can pull this up. Nope. That's not that. Hold, please. I'll just hold it up. So my last album is called Break Up With the Sound. And thank you. And it featured Donnie McCaslin on tenor, Tim Motzer, who's in the Philadelphia area, on guitar and electronics, Matthew Parrish on bass, and Rudy Royston on drums. And this was really kind of I have a couple albums before this one, but this is the album that it was my first album that featured originals, and there's just a lot of heart in this album for me. It's the kind of thing where even if nobody liked it, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that I made the album. And I'm so grateful to the musicians who are on this album, who poured their hearts and souls into the making of this album. Again, it's called Break Up With the Sound, and features originals and some country standards and some jazz standards, and even a Rolling Stones tune. So that album is the music that I'm still touring. Of course, we had a nice little tour planned, and then that thing happened. So everything has been a little slowed down. Of course, I know all musicians are feeling like this. So luckily, I'm hoping, but I'm pretty sure we're good. I'm finally going back out on this delayed tour for Break Up With the Sound. I will be in Detroit at the Dirty Dog for 2 nights. That will be October 22nd and 23rd. And at the Bop Stop in Cleveland on the night before that. It's a Thursday night, and that's the 21st of October. So I'll be with James, the wonderful pianist James Lloyd of Pieces of a Dream. Thank you. At the Bop Stop along with Matt Parrish. And then we head to Detroit, Grosse Pointe, and play with Randy Napoleon and Xavier Davis at the Dirty Dog along with Matt Parrish. So some really stellar musicians. I'm really excited to explore the music with them. The neat thing about this album is there really isn't, there's no one way to do this. And it's really exciting to play with new musicians on this and see what they find. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So that's my October. So I'll be local. And also traveling a little bit to the Midwest and hopefully checking out, hopefully going to my favorite place for barbecue. I'm trying to remember the name right now. With the club in the back. What's it called? You remember? Burt's. Have you guys been to Burt's? Anybody there? Has anyone been to Burt's in Detroit? Okay, I shouldn't tell anybody because Gail says that a lot of people will see this eventually. I shouldn't tell anyone, but it's called Burt's, and it's open till 4 a.m., I believe, and it has the best barbecue, and it has the most amazing music. It's amazing. The house band was killing. Every single singer that got up was amazing. I love Detroit. And because I'm there, I get to go to Burt's and I get to eat barbecue and I get to hear all this wonderful music. So so that'll be fun. But I do love, this is, I guess, my third or fourth time in Detroit. And I do love going there. I love the music scene there. It's one thing that I don't know if it's lacking in New York. It might be lacking a little bit here, but what I really like about it there is that there are people from different genres that definitely connect more. And that really appeals to me. I've worked with a producer there who has a project called His Name Is Alive, which is on 4AD. And I love the way that the different types of music intersect there. So that's something that's really interesting to me. And if you do come to one of those shows, or if you come to the session at Fabrica on October 13th, that's something you may hear in my music, is that I am certainly not a purist. Although I do, I love traditional styles of jazz, but I'm definitely in my own music. I'm picking things up. I'm a boll weevil picking up different types of music at every turn. So that's Detroit. We will be there, and more performances to come in the near future. Hopefully everyone gets their vaccine. And oh, hello. Yeah, you've heard about Burt's. Well, now everyone's heard about Burt's, and they're going to be out of the brisket. So that's a problem. Hi, Tanya. It's great and there's a wonderful vocalist in Pittsburgh who has, you write in the comments, let everybody know about your delayed album release featuring David Budway and Jeff and whoever else is in your band. Let everybody know. Yeah. So that's a nice reminder just of everybody, how many things have been put off and waylaid. Matt and I had I was going to say nerve. We had the nerve to be like, no, we're going to make music. We'll make it safely, but we're not going to stop. But this has been so hard for everybody. And it's still hard. It's especially hard for us right now because, I still have cancellations happening, but the world's opened up. So we're kind of between. We're a little betwixt and between here, because some people don't want to go out to bars, and then some people are, they're kind of on the fence. So things are not at full capacity yet. Yet we're not crazy busy here filming people masked and really separated. But hopefully, we're moving towards doing things live. And I just got back from the Exit Zero Jazz Festival, which was fantastic. Fantastic music, fantastic fellowship. I was there. I heard the Captain Black Big Band, Nate Smith, some wonderful, musicians there, and the crowds were, well distanced and outdoors and safe, and it felt like things were back to normal. It really felt wonderful. But even as things move back to normal, one nice thing about Bump is that we're still here for people. Jazz musicians need to promote themselves. That would be the advice I would give to a young person. First of all, find your elders and hang on to them like a flea on a dog and learn everything you can. Second, make good materials for promotion. Get your EPK together, make a beautiful video, make it art, because it is art. You deserve it. All the work you put into your music, make it art. So, anyway, we are coming up to the end here. One thing I do want to mention is, there you go. We here at Bump Jazz Productions, we are throwing a party, a festival on November 6th. Please go to, actually DM me for details here on Facebook, Michelle Lordi Music, or go to Bump Jazz Productions on Facebook. There will be some wonderful jazz artists, some world music, and you can. We're going to do a live, indoor and outdoor festival here in Glenside, Pennsylvania on November 6th. So thank you. You can also find Matthew Parrish on Facebook at Matthew Parrish Bassist, and connect with him there as well. But I want to thank Gail for supporting artists throughout this difficult and, let's just say, interesting times. What did they say? The worst thing you can say to someone is, may you live in interesting times. Well, I don't know who we bummed out, but we are definitely living in interesting times. But, who would we rather live in interesting times with? I am very grateful to be here, to be able to talk with you a little bit. Anybody who would like to connect, again, michellelordi.com. There you go. Thank you. You can hear my music there, and you can connect if you're interested in any production services, or the events that we do sponsor and put together, like the festival that's happening on November 6th. So again, thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to talk with you, and a pleasure to be part of this series, which has featured such amazing artists. I'm so grateful to be here. And thank you, Gail. You really, you kept us interested and engaged and hopeful in this difficult time. And, as Mr. Rogers says, just look for the helpers. So thank you for being a helper, and thank you for helping musicians with continuing to kind of carve their way and be themselves in this wild world. Thank you.